this is hard for me to believe, but we are just about 5 weeks away from Cabot's retirement as he marks 30 years here at NBC4. And every Wednesday, he's been looking back at memorable stories and people. And boy, these are two good stories tonight.
It's hard for you to believe. Boy, it's hard for me. On this Veterans Day, two stories celebrating the greatest generation, beginning with an early honor flight and an incredible reunion of a Jewish gentleman and the Johnstown resident who freed his family after 2 years in hiding. Springfield VA Physician Assistant Captain Earl Moore saw World War II vets with little time left to see their memorial that only opened in 2004. So Earl and his dad chartered 2 private planes and flew 12 vets to Washington in 2005. By the time I caught up with his honor flight in 2007, Southwest Airlines had agreed to transport vets from 11 states. I flew with 35 Central Ohio vets, including 82-year-old former Merchant Marine Ross Ingram, just out of the hospital. Once we landed in Baltimore, an emotional series of events began. For Ross and others, the ovation was overwhelming. He'd never gotten that before.
It meant a lot to you.
Yep. Nobody knows how much.
Greeted by World War II vet Bob Dole, the vets proudly walk or roll through the moving memorial, posing for a picture to buddies lost and bravery that saved our world.
Thank God I got over here to see this. Have a day here.
A few months later, Ross Ingram passed away.
We didn't have toilet paper. We had newspaper.
In 2012, we met Bert Jacobs, the youngest member of a Jewish family that fled Germany in 1942 and hid in the attic of a house in Holland, remaining until September of 1944.
And on September 17th, 1944, we looked out of a little window. We saw a lot of planes coming over. We saw a lot of black dots coming out of the airplane.
One of those dots was Johnstown native Don Jakeway. As a sergeant, he'd parachuted behind the lines on D-Day in France, surviving an ambush that took many in his patrol. Within days of his jump into Holland, Sergeant Jakeway and his patrol engaged and pushed the Germans away from the home where Bert and family were hiding. Little Bert seen in the doorway in a painting of their rescue.
I was only part of the patrol that went through and helped this great man to get out of this house and his family.
But Bert, who moved to California after the war, had no doubts.
Don Jakeway, in the first place, is the cause of me being alive and being here.
Johnstown's Don Jakeway came home to serve the Johnstown community. Bert Jacobs did well in auto repair, but this day was about their first ever reunion of two who know the horrors of war, hoping the world never forgets.
You're Christian. I'm Jewish. But the bottom line is we're all human beings. And let's get out of the box of putting people in a box. And let's accept each other as we are.
Moving story. Don Jakeway has so many stories in Johnstown. He was shot twice. He was everywhere. He was just like Band of Brothers. Yeah. Still alive, still with us in his 90s now, and he is a real hero.
I remember that story when those two men met and thinking how wonderful after all these years to be able to thank the person who really saved your life.
The kids at that school, Johnstown High School, they were riveted, quiet, and afterwards I talked to them and they were really touched and affected by that
hear
story.
a pin drop in that room, sounds like.
Absolutely.